Hi, this is Sensei James Leonelli from Sensei's Weekly Mindset, and I'm here to talk to you about betonline.net. Betonline.net is your #1 source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball, soccer, and esports. Don't forget my personal favorite, MMA. We've got it all on betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, we can help you find those on BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. And don't forget BetOnline for NHL, boxing, golf, and like I said, my personal favorite, the sport of MMA. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. Life isn't always easy, and you don't have to face it alone. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you have access to a network of over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of needs. To get started, you simply answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's most convenient for you. The best part is, if your therapist isn't the right fit for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom-picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and at a more affordable price, all from the comfort at home. To start your journey and to get 10% off of your first month, go to betterhelp.com/sensei. That's betterhelp.com/sensei. BetterHelp, you deserve to be happy. Hi guys, Sensei James Leonelli here to talk to you about another one of our sponsors, LMNT. An electrolyte drink mix. Each one of these little packets gives you exactly what you need to keep you as hydrated as all us athletes like to be. If you're like me, you work out a lot, and when you work out a lot, you also sweat a lot. Now, when we sweat, we don't lose just water, of course. We also sweat out salt. We sweat out electrolytes. So each one of these packets contains 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium, giving you everything that you need in order to maintain optimal hydration and nothing that you don't. So to go online, place an order for your sample pack, and to get yourself a bonus free sample pack, you're going to go to this website right here, elementallabs.refr.cc/James Leonelli. You're going to see this down in the video below, but I'll say it one more time for you. elementallabs.refr.cc/James Leonelli. Again, it's a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything you need and nothing that you don't. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Sensei's Weekly Mindset. I am Sensei James Leonelli, owner and head instructor of Tiger Schulman's here in Smithtown. Once again, I am back in my home recording space, ready to give you guys this week's food for thought. As you can see, I'm wearing a little bit more of the Everyday We Train line, available on tiegear.com. I have some of the originals, but there's quite a few more varieties available these days. Again, get on tiegear.com, check that out, check the streetwear collection. There's a whole bunch of really awesome collections out there from Tiger now, aside from the uniforms that they make for us at Tiger Schulman's. So check out all the awesome shirts and shorts and tanks and hats and slides they have available in their apparel section for both men, women, and children. Definitely check it out. Again, tiegear.com. So as I was preparing for this week's podcast and getting my mindset right and everything like that, one thing that I do is I've you guys know I consume a lot of my media via podcasts, but I also wanted to make sure that I was staying up to date on world events and so forth. So I've subscribed to a newsletter, literally a newsletter, and it's a daily a daily email that I get. It takes about 5 minutes to read, and it has the big stories of world news of the day. Everything from financial to sports to science to just the big stories in the news. And one thing it always closes with is the significant things that happened on that day. This significant person that was born, this significant person that died, this significant historical event, etc., etc., etc. So recently, we passed a day of significance for Betty Ford, former First Lady, who struggled famously with addiction and who overcame that addiction. And one of the things that this newsletter does is they put a little quote for you at the end of the newsletter, and it's always from someone who had a pertinent day that day, right? If your birthday or the day you passed away was that day, they put a quote from you. If you're one of those people, right? Usually, if there's multiple, they pick someone who had like the best quote. So this quote was from former First Lady Betty White, and it really Betty Ford. Wow, that was another pop culture Betty, but definitely not the correct one. But nonetheless, this quote from Betty Ford definitely hit me, and it's something that I think we can all relate to, and I think it's it's a very big part of everybody's lives, whether they want to admit it or not. So the quote goes like this: "Change, by its very nature, is threatening, but it's also often very productive." Again, change, by its very nature, is threatening, but it is also often productive, right? And I love this mentality. I love this quote because one of the things that we fear the absolute most in the world is change. No one likes change. There are very few who like change because change, with it, always comes some struggle, some growing pains, some difficulty. And that's a very normal thing. And we have to recall how normal that part of it is, right? It's very difficult for us to make any type of transition, any type of change whatsoever without a little bit of growing pains, right? And the thing is, whether we're talking about a change for the positive or the negative, it always happens with a little bit of growing pains, right? I'll give you guys a pertinent example from my life, right? As I'm sure you guys have picked up, Kai and Riley now live with Mrs. Sensei and I. And that was a big change for them, for sure, right? They were moving from Colorado, and they were in the house they grew up in, essentially, with the family that they've grown up being around the most times. And it's not like they didn't know us well, because they did, but they were now going to move 2 time zones away, several states away, away from the network that they had in Colorado, all the way to here. And it was a scary change, for sure, but it's definitely been productive for them, right? They're in a much better place for a myriad of reasons, but most importantly, you can see it in them, right? They're stronger, more confident kids, not just because of their martial arts training, just in general. They're just stronger, more confident kids. They're doing better academically. They're doing better psychologically. Right? Every part of their lives is that little bit better, which is huge. That's tremendous, right? We don't get better in one giant leap. We do it in little steps again and again and again and again. But it all was predicated from that big, scary change, right? The idea of taking all of their stuff and moving it here. They probably remember the day well that we unloaded from our garage 30 some odd boxes of their stuff. And, going through all that and seeing, what was stuff they had long since outgrown, what was stuff that was broken, what was stuff that they wanted to keep, what was stuff they didn't want to keep. And going through that, I'm sure, was a very emotional day for them. And it was a big, big change. But I think they, as much as they might love to be home, I think big picture, this is the better thing for them. It's been a very productive change for them. And the same holds true. I mean, we think about the woman who gave the quote, Betty Ford, right? Again, famously struggled with addiction. So when we think about Betty Ford and overcoming addiction, right, that is a very, very big change, right? Having a daily habit that is a horrible negative habit, the idea of stopping that habit is a dark one. Even though we know that there's going to be sunshine and rainbows on the other end of that change, the idea of actually making the change is a very difficult one, right? Because you think about someone who struggled with any type of addiction, it's going to hurt, right? not just psychologically, but sometimes even physically, depending on what they're addicted to, right? There's going to be hurt, physical. There might even be, and there will definitely be psychological hurt as they go through, the transitions of ending that addiction, of making that change. But that change, we know, will be so productive for that person. I mean, think about it as we go into our adult lives. Some of the changes that we make is we go out on our own, right? We move away from our parents. We move out of our parents' house. We move away from our things that we've known our whole lives. And that's a scary prospect. You're looking at a mortgage payment, like, I got to keep that mortgage payment up every single month. I got to know what to make for dinner by myself every single night. Like, I got to keep this house. It's a very scary and overwhelming feeling. But in the long term, it's a very productive feeling. And where you wind up because of it is very, very productive. Right? It's a great step in your life. But it's scary, right? The change, by its very nature, is terrifying. Right? By its very nature, we push against change. We're human beings. We are obstinate. We do not like to change. We dig our heels in on just about everything. Right? There is very, very, very little that you'll want to change. Like, it's funny when you look at like the little things you change on a kid and you watch how they just dig their heels in and don't want to change it. And then meanwhile wind up loving the change. I think about things that we've changed up in the kids' rooms, and they've been like, no, that's a terrible idea. No, I don't want to do that. And then we do it, and like, oh, I like that better. Right? Or trying a new place for lunch. Oh, my goodness. If you have kids, you can relate to that one, where, they've got their couple of restaurants they're really, really comfortable with, and you're like, hey, let's try this new place, knowing that they'll probably like it. And they will be like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go to that new place. I don't want to try that new thing. Blah, 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 blah. And then, sure enough, they're like, can we go to that restaurant all the time? Like, just recently, funny memory that I was thinking about kids. We were out for my father's birthday, and we're at the dinner table, and it's all the families there. And my brother's girlfriend gets penne alla vodka with her food. And Riley's like, what's that sauce on that pasta? And she has like the really funny look on her face, like, inquisitive, but also somewhat disgusted. And she winds up convincing G winds up convincing her, the girlfriend winds up convincing Riley to try a couple of pieces of pasta. And then Riley proceeds to eat almost half of her pasta. And then Riley wants alla vodka sauce on everything. Right? She wants alla vodka sauce on her steak. She wants it on her chicken. She wants it on everything. Right? That has replaced Chick-fil-A sauce in her life. Right? Because again, she was tripped out on the idea of that change. That was not something she was going to want to try until she did. And then once she did, she was really happy that she did. And speaking of changes, one change that I had made to my morning routine a while back was the idea of putting Magic Mind into my morning routine. And I'm sure most of you guys have heard this story before, but nonetheless, I'm an avid podcast listener like you guys, and I love to support the shows that I listen to by using the sponsors of those shows. And Magic Mind was a sponsor of a podcast that I listened to, and I heard from them all the great benefits that it had. But it aligned with a lot of what I thought of. Very natural thing. There isn't a ton of processing, and it was an easy thing to add to my morning routine. It wasn't this whole rigmarole of blenders and all this jazz. It's a little 1 ounce shot, right? And take it first thing. And I noticed very quickly what it did for my mental acuity. So I have a one-time deal for you guys, only accessible through my link that I'm going to provide for you guys in this episode and in the episode summary. You can subscribe and try the shots for free, only paying for the shipping for a trial of 3 bottles. You can cancel your subscription anytime and not get charged after 1 month. You're going to use my discount code at my website. So you're going to go to magicmind.com/SENSEIWMTRIAL. And then you're going to use that same code, SENSEIWMTRIAL. So once again, magicmind.com/SENSEIWMTRIAL. And you're going to use my code, SENSEIWMTRIAL. And that, like I said, that'll get you that free trial pack. All you got to do is pay for shipping. Try it out. See if it works for you like it worked for me. Other than that, getting back to our thoughts here, I want to now think about this idea of change and how this affects most people's martial arts journey. See, most people, when they take their martial arts journey, one of the things I asked people when they come in for the first time very frequently was, what was the aha moment? What was the moment that made you say, okay, I need to make a change. I need to actually take that leap of faith? Because very frequently, especially from adults, I hear all the time, oh, I've wanted to do this my whole life. I've been wanting to do this for this reason, for that reason, blah, 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 blah. And I just never did it. Or like, my doctor's been telling me I got to get in shape for years and I just never did. And I was like, okay, so what was the moment? What was the moment? Like if you circle it in your calendar, what was the moment that makes you say like, okay, that was the day. Today is the day I'm going to act. And that tells me a lot about the person themselves and why they're with me and what their journey is going to entail and where they're going to picture, it being several years down the line. But more importantly, it helps me understand what motivated their change. Because if I understand what motivates your change, I understand what motivates you and where you want to get going. And that, in and of itself, is a huge thing. Like, I wanted to do martial arts for years. And if it was up to me, I probably would have started much earlier. However, I was a kid, so it wasn't really my choice entirely. I had some input, of course. But I remember, like, years later, because when someone comes into one of our schools, they fill out a form. Years ago, it was on an index card. Then it was on a paper. And now it's all electronic. So doing it all electronically like that. Regardless, we have those records. Like I still have mine from my sensei school. I took it when I left. And I still have that form that my parents filled out. And it's funny because it astonished me what I saw my parents write. And the things that my mom thought were important and how martial arts could affect me. And she was right, because she knew me better than anybody else in the world. But I didn't see those things as pressing as at the time as they actually were. Like I needed that for those reasons. But again, I didn't quite understand why I needed them. And as a kid, it's a little more difficult to understand your aha moment. You don't have it as much. You just understand you're drawn to it, and you don't understand why. However, as an adult, understanding your why, understanding what motivates your change is a really powerful thing, because the key thing is that why, that moment of truth that makes you say, okay, aha, the aha moment that's as long as that's more powerful than your fear of change, you'll make the change, right? As long as the aha moment is more powerful than your fear of that change, you will make that change. Otherwise, you won't. Right? That's why it takes people so many years to make the leap of faith. Right? Like I had people who sat in my lobby for a really long time. And they were parents watching their kids train. And then eventually they overcame their fear of the change and they took the leap of faith. And now they train more often or harder or even longer than their kids have. Right? Like one of my guys, two of my guys in my class last night that I taught, both were parents who sat in the lobby, watched it for a little bit, and like, all right, I'm in. And now they both train, I would say, even more than their kids. But one of them specifically, his daughter went away to college, so he's definitely trained longer than her for sure. But nonetheless, right, change by its very nature is scary. We do not like change. Homeostasis is happiness for human beings, right? No matter what's on the other end of the change. It could be good, it could be bad, it could be a happy thing. It doesn't matter. Getting your butt in gear to do it, that's the hard thing. That's the really hard thing, right? Like, it's funny, when we think about even like going on vacation, which is a change, right? It's a change from your daily routine. We love the idea of vacation. We do not love the idea of getting ready for and going to vacation. We love the idea of being on vacation, right? The preparation, right? The packing, the traveling through the airport, all that rigmarole. That in and of itself is a very annoying process, right? It has the opportunity for a lot to go wrong. And that's the difficult part of the change. But if we can get past that, we get to the fun stuff, right? And the same is true for something like beginning your own martial arts or own fitness journey, is the idea that what will be on the other side is more desirable than that fear of that change is powerful, right? Because you're in a balancing act. How much do you desire the new thing versus how much do you fear the change, right? And again, let's go back to that thought of addiction, right? When someone's thinking about addiction, they're thinking about stopping. They're thinking about hurting, literally and figuratively. And that's a scary prospect. Now, do we know that their life will be better on the other end of it? Yeah, but the chemistry in their brain is all off because of the addiction. And by the same token, sometimes as human beings, we don't see the forest for the trees. We don't understand that, that thing that we're thinking about doing, that thing that we're fearful about doing, that change that we're fearful to make will be tremendously beneficial in the long term. And that's the thing that we have to remember, that the true benefit of a change comes once you actually make it. Right? Nobody loves change. Nobody does. Right? You find me someone who likes change, I'll find you someone who is probably a little insane. Right? And even like earlier today, Shian Gravina, my instructor, was talking about how he constantly updates things in the school, like physically. The mats, the wall pads, the bag tops, the mitts. And that's not really change. That's maintenance and upkeep. That's repair. Right? It's not like he completely redoes the school all the time. He just replaces what needs to be replaced over and over and over again. Now, to that end, right, the thing that stands between you and the person that you want to be someday, the person that you dream of being, the version of you that you see in your mind as the ideal version, the difference between those two people is your fear of that change. Your fear of the change that will be necessary in order to discover that new person. Right? Because where you are in life, who you are is a summary of your choices. Right? Don't get me wrong. Life throws some cards at you sometimes that you have no choice but to play. However, at the end of the day, there are certain things that just you control 100%. And the only thing that keeps you from getting them where you want them to be is you. Is you not taking that chance. You not making that change. And it can be the simplest of things, right? But if you don't change where you're headed, you're going to end up where you're going. And if you don't like where that is, don't let the fear of the change stop you. Right? There's the old adage about the grass is always greener, and it's true. The grass is always greener on the other side, but we never get to find out how much greener that grass can be if we've always got our roots planted and we're not willing to make a little bit of a change. And now, am I saying that, I've always dreamed of backpacking through the Rocky Mountains, I'm going to quit my job? No. I'm talking about making the little change in your life that's going to get you closer to where you want to be. The little change in your life that will make you the healthier, stronger person. Right? If there's that bad habit that you know that you have, that you're just not changing because you're afraid of it, right? Whether you realize it or not, make it. Make that change. You'll be better for it. You'll be much better for it. Overcome that obstacle. You'll be better for it. Make that little change, right? You never know what's on the other side of that opportunity until you face the fear of that change and actually make it. By making that change, it's often very productive. Just like Betty Ford said. I almost said Betty White again, by the way. Just like Betty Ford said, it's often very productive, right? And often, it's the hardest changes to overcome psychologically that are the ones that breed the biggest change. And that's what we're really all about, making that bigger change. Right? If we want to be that best version of ourselves, if we want to be in a different place, well, that comes simply from changing our mindset, facing that fear of that change, and seeing exactly how green that grass is on the other side. Right? It's not gonna be the most fearless thing in the world. Right? We will have fear of that change, and that's okay. Right? But we need to face it, and the more we face that change, the better. Right? And the better we face that change, the more changes we make, the closer we get to that idealized version of ourselves, who it is that we hope to be someday. So that's all I have for you guys this week. As always, you can reach me via email, senseileonelli@gmail.com. Find me on Facebook, I'm Sensei James Leonelli. On Twitter and Instagram, I'm at Sensei_Leonelli. You can find everywhere I'm on the internet at my linktree, linktr.ee/Sensei Leonelli. You can find all the ways to contact me there, everything Tiger Schulman's, everything Flex Fights. Speaking of Flex Fights, this Saturday we are back at Flex Fights. In addition to having pro MMA, we have some pro kickboxing, again on Fubo TV, live at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Check us out there. And then, of course, the entire show will be live on throwdownsports.com from about 4 o'clock on all day long on Friday, August 2nd. Definitely check us out. We have 14 Tiger Schulman's fighters in the card, 5 actually, excuse me. Definitely, guys, check it out if you can. It's going to be an awesome show. Also in our link tree, you can find our sponsor information. Once again, more sponsorship opportunities are available. Just reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to work with you guys. Other than that, guys, find my school online, tsmasmithtown.com, facebook.com/Tiger Schulman Smithtown for our social Facebook. For Twitter and Instagram, we are at tsmma_Smithtown. You can find out more about the Tiger Schulman's organization as a whole at tsk.com. Find the podcast on Instagram at Sensei's Weekly Mindset. Most importantly, guys, make sure that you guys leave a rate and review. Just helps. Right? Make sure that you guys subscribe, get your new episodes every Wednesday. But most important thing you guys can do for me, share the podcast. It's the only form of advertising I have, so I very much appreciate when I see you guys doing it. So, until next time, my friends, invest in yourselves. I'll see you guys on the mat.